Okay, we're actually at the end of the day and at the end of the adventure. The reason I'm putting this little video first is that this adventure turned out a whole lot different than I'd expected. I was thinking I was heading up to Mummy's Head, right in the center there. And there's a canyon here. Camp Stimson in the base of the canyon. And there pretty elaborate home up on a hill. It's hard to see with so much glare, but up on a hill there. And so what I did was I thought that I would take the left ridge of the canyon up and then cross over to Mummy's Head. Actually, by the time what I did is I skirted that just below that home up there on the right side of the home. I skirted the ridges and then just continued up the ridge. And the further up I went, the more I realized that it was a huge downhill down into the canyon again and then up the other side. So I decided, why not just see where this connects? And actually, it did connect with an area that I've been to before, that I've reached through the Mummy Springs area. And, right up at the base of the Mummy Mountain Cliffs. And so when I got up there, realized I was at a place where I was familiar. I then took a left and headed along the base of the Mummy Cliffs. Got turned around a little bit, but eventually came out at the Cougar Ridge Trail, took a right, and hit the Mummy Springs Trail. Then I decided, why not go up to Fletcher Peak? And I believe Fletcher Peak is right up in the distance there. So I summited, I went to Raintree and then on the North Loop Trail to the Fletcher Peak turnoff and summited Fletcher Peak, and then back to Raintree and then over to Mummy Springs Trail and then back down the Cougar Ridge Trail and then hit Deer Creek Road. And it wasn't too very far that we hit this parking lot again. So that's how the adventure turned out. Totally different than what I'd expected. So I'll go ahead and place the videos after the adventure videos after this. It's going to talk about going up to Mummy's Head, but ahead of time that that's not what actually happened. One thing that I would say, a learning from this, is that I head up the right side of this canyon next time and hit that ridge to the left of the bluff up there, and then take that ridge up as high as I can get and see if I can find a pathway up to Mummy's Head from there. Or I could take a left and go along the base of Mummy's Head until I find a pathway. So there are other options from here to summit Mummy's Head, potentially. We don't know what it's going to be like up at Mummy's Head. Lots of cliff action happening up there. But that'll be a future adventure. This instead was this huge loop that I did between 15 and 20 miles from here to the base of Mummy Cliffs up there, and then over to Mummy's Toe, Raintree, up to Fletcher Peak, and then back to this location. So there you have it. That's the adventure you're about to see. Here we are today in an unmarked parking area, very nice parking area off of Deer Creek Road, Lower Deer Creek Road. It's, if you're heading from Kyle Canyon Road, this spot is after the high point where the North Loop Trailhead is located. It's down below. And what we're heading for today is Mummy Mountains. There's Mummy Mountain's head. Okay, this has been it's becoming a life goal here to get up to Mummy Mountain's head. But what I'm going to try to do today, I have reached, last year when I was here, I reached, you see this rocky cliff area. I reached the rocky cliff area going by the Superheroes Trail, and you can see that on a page on Las Vegas area trails. And I noticed that you look to the right of that cliff area. It looks like there is a pathway that could lead up to what's called Mummy's Chin up here. And once you get to Mummy's Chin, you should be able to move toward Mummy's Head. Now, that looks mighty jagged for this non-rock climber. So I don't know if I'm going to actually get on Mummy's Head, let alone on the summit. But if I can at least get close and scope out the area, I will be happy. So we're just going to, perhaps just go directly through the wilderness. I'm not sure exactly what route I'm going to take. If I'm going to just take the tree route here and melt into the wilderness, or if I'm going to take that closed road, which I know leads up to that wash area that you can see right in the center there, which I took last time, and then I angled up to the cliffs there. I may take the Wolverine route, which Wolverines just go straight. They go over mountains, they go, all through obstacles. I just may take the Wolverine route and go straight up to this point we're looking at here. I don't know. I'll know in about 5 minutes what I decide to do. So anyway, here we are, this great location, and let's see, I'm not working by GPS or compass or anything, map. I go by these sites. So as I melt into this wilderness, I'm going to want to be able to find this exact spot when I return. And so let's take a look at some landmarks that I want to be aware of. There's Mummy Mountain, so that's a good landmark, and of course Mummy's Head. Here's a little hill that would be a nice landmark to note. And this parking lot has a little road to it that is only about 100-200 feet from Deer Creek Road. It's unmarked, but it's on mile number 6. Now here is the killer key landmark for on the way back. I know you just see trees right now, but take a look. There is Angel Peak. And so no matter where I am in this wilderness, in the trees here, I'll head straight for Angel Peak on the way back. So that's pretty much, those are the landmarks I'm looking at, just to be aware of where we are here. And by the way, you can see Mummy's Toe through the trees, and Fletcher Peak in that area. I think it might be beyond this green high point we're looking at. Not sure. I think it might be the next one to the left. But anyway, yeah, Fletcher Peak right up in that area. So, I really like to look at landmarks as I'm navigating in the wilderness rather than be confined to a small screen looking at a GPS. And it just gives a real sense of freedom and liberation and connection, oneness with the land. And it causes me to always be aware of all my surroundings, 360-degree view. So anyway, yeah, here we go. That was a short-lived wilderness experience here. I just emerged onto the road that leads up to Camp Stimson and the Superheroes Trail. Maybe we'll end up taking that. It certainly is going to be a more direct and faster route. So we'll do the same that we did before, up Superheroes Trail, only we'll see if we can get higher up on Mummy's Chin. Here we go. Okay, I left that road some time ago. Now we find ourselves up on this high ridge, and there's Mummy Mountain, Mummy's Chin, Mummy's Head, and there's that mountain feature that we saw from the beginning, which will be a guide for the return trip. And the way that return trip's going to go, I believe, but I have definitely, my predictions have all been wrong so far. I've been kind of going by my gut, is that this canyon here that you see below us, I'll probably return on the opposite side of the canyon and skirt that mountain feature straight ahead, and then head back down to the point of origin. So this may be a little longer than I thought, maybe not, we don't know. But I'll be skirting the upper end of Mount Stimson, and believe this is the exit route that I took last time I was in this area. Again, there's Mummy's Chin, and to the right of that cliff, I would be ascending through the trees. There's a band of trees to the right of that cliff, which indicates to me that there's no cliff in that one little area. Let's see if we can get a better look at it. Yeah, there we go. And you can see the band of trees there. I don't know. It looks pretty gnarly right up in that area. I don't know if that is a possible ascent. We'll just have to find out. This is going to be major exploration day. So we'll see what we see. Here we go. Okay, now we're skirting a ridge between Camp Stimson down in that area, down in the canyon, and this amazingly elaborate home up at the top of this ridge. And there you see Mummy Mountain. And there's the area between Mummy Mountain and Mummy's Chin. And then we just follow potential routes up to Mummy's Head. And it looks almost like one could skirt the cliff there where we were before, I'm not sure, and skirt around the left side of Mummy's Chin and then head up, or around the right side of Mummy's Chin. But boy, it looks broken up by cliffs all up in that area. So we'll just need to play it by ear. We'll get up there and explore around, and hopefully we can return down the far side of this canyon. Let's see. I had it on close up here. We'll get a better view. And it gives you an idea where we are. Pretty much unmarked wilderness area, and just continuing to follow this ridge and skirt the ridge below this home at the top. Okay, here we go. Continuing on up, I just crossed another little road here, and this looks like the road between Camp Stimson and that home that we saw a moment ago. And we're on Forest Service land, which is good. And it looks like everything below is Camp Stimson land. So I'm going to continue to skirt Camp Stimson area. And here you see Mummy Mountain. And then the gap between Mummy's tummy and Mummy's chin is right here. I don't know if I'm going to go up that gap, which is definitely a possibility, or if I'm going to head up and, at the base of this Mummy's Chin cliff, take a right and head on upward. I just don't know yet. So we'll see how things look when we get higher. And there is Mummy's head. Okay, unique perspective for anyone who wants to scope out the area for climbing possibilities. There's the whole story of the east side of Mummy, from the tummy to the head. A lot of signs out in the middle of nowhere. Here is one that says wilderness. So it must be a wilderness boundary, meaning everything beyond this is National Forest Service wilderness, which is pretty awesome. If I was worried about being on private land, I am no longer worried about that once I pass this sign. And just a quick look where we are. We're continuing to ascend. And looks like no matter what I do, we'll be descending. Not too far into the future here. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I could actually continue on up to the base of Mummy's tummy and then take a left and head down Cougar Ridge, and then back down Deer Creek Road to the starting point. That would be an interesting adventure. Or I could take a right and head up to Mummy's Chin. So we don't know what's going to happen. There's Mummy's head. Lots of cliffs in this area. The key is to find a way through and around the cliffs. And that wash up there, if I'm heading for Mummy's Chin, that wash looks like a good candidate. And just to head right up the left side of Mummy's Chin. And then hopefully there's a little more friendly land on the other side of that cliff than what we see on this side. That could be nice. And actually, if there is a way, just skirt that whole area all the way up to Mummy's Head. But I don't know. Let's see where things lead. I know that no matter what I do, there's going to be a pretty dramatic downhill back through this canyon if I do anything but head left across the base of Mummy's tummy to Cougar Ridge. So just learning this area. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I'm really getting curious about this area here. There's Mummy's tummy, and I'm feeling less inclined today to head back down into that canyon, then reascend. I think that next trip, what I'll do is I'll take the other side of the canyon and head up. But, boy, this is almost looking like Cougar Ridge up here. I want to top this ridge system, and if it is indeed Cougar Ridge, I will again know where I am, and then I'll have a choice of heading on over to Raintree and maybe Fletcher Peak, and then down the North Loop Trail, and then down around Deer Creek Road back to my starting point. That's one option that's looking more possible today. So let's just get to the top of this ridge and see what we can see, because boy, I just think it could be Cougar Ridge. What we're looking at through the trees there is the 11,500 foot summit of Mummy Mountain. And these cliffs in the foreground here, I have circumvented the base of the cliffs quite a bit, and also done a large circuit. You can see on LasVegasAreaTrails.com the Mummy Mountain North Rim page, where I circled the whole summit of Mummy Mountain up there. So I've been above these cliffs and below these cliffs, and it's just a matter now of reaching an area that looks familiar, and I can't help but believe that is what I'm approaching, just based on what I know of this area. It's kind of like a puzzle. It'll be interesting to see where I actually end up, and hopefully make a connection. If not, I can always turn around. But boy, it sure looks like it will take me on up to the base of Mummy Mountain's cliffs there. So here we go, onward. Okay, continuing on up, we've come into another road system here. I believe this road would take us up to that elaborate home that we saw earlier. Don't know where this road takes us. You can see Mummy's Head, and then over to Mummy's Chin, and then Mummy's Tummy, then over to Mummy's Toe. And Raintree's at the base of that cliff there on the left side, in that little saddle down there. That's one goal I'd like to shoot for. And there's Fletcher Peak. And then I don't know if I am on Cougar Ridge right now, or on the other hand, if well, I just can't believe Cougar Ridge is down in this area, but it could be. That open area on the North Loop Trail, that first plateau that we come out upon when we're heading up the North Loop Trail, I believe that's right here. And then you continue along the North Loop Trail and circle around and you hit, let's see. Yeah. Let's try it this way. You're on the plateau. And then there's what I call Planet Switchback that heads up to this level. And then we take a saddle over, and I don't think that's Fletcher Peak, by the way, now that I'm looking at it. We take a saddle and circle around and get to Raintree, which is at the base of left side of Mummy's Toe in that saddle. I think that's where the North Loop Trail goes. And if that is the case, then boy, either this is Cougar Ridge, which is a good possibility, or Cougar Ridge is that ridge across the canyon. So let's continue on up, and hopefully we're not going to be dealing with private property issues up this road, because what I want to do is I want to get to the base of Mummy's tummy cliff here, and then I can pretty much gauge where I am from that point. So onward and upward. Well, I descended below that road a little bit. Looked like I might have been getting into private property, and so then I reascended to this ridge, and it looks like now I am truly above any human habitation, although there's a little bit of human junk here. Picnic table, barbecue, pretty amazing. Anyway, yeah, we're looking toward Fletcher Peak, straight ahead, and closing in on Mummy's Toe and Raintree. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm hoping, I think I'm looking down actually on Delta Canyon. Pretty interesting. So I just need to cross this canyon and head on over to Mummy Springs Trail, and then maybe head up to Fletcher Peak. This is definitely a different area than I've been in before, and it does help close a loop here, where now we know everything between Lower Deer Creek Road and Mummy's Toe area. So we're working our way across. Next time we'll head more toward the head. But for now, we're making connections here that we have never made before. So should be truly interesting. Here we go. Now we've emerged onto the faintest trail here, heading toward the northeast cliffs of Mummy Mountain. And if you look on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, Mummy Mountain northeast, you will see where we came from the Raintree area and ended up in this spot. Well, we're going to retrace our way back to Raintree and then maybe climb Fletcher Peak if we've got time, or I should say ascend. It's not really a climb. And here's that faint trail. You can, if you look carefully, you can just barely see the outline of a trail. Every now and then there's a cairn, none visible right now. So I remember there being a little trail when I was up here last. So yeah, we are in familiar territory, and now it's just a case of circling around and heading back to Deer Creek Road, probably at the North Loop trailhead, and then just hoofing it down Deer Creek Road to where we parked. So here we go. We stood on this exact spot about a year ago, and it would be on the Mummy Mountain northeast or northern overlook page. Anyway, yeah, speaking of Mummy's Head, were I to have ascended the other side of that canyon, maybe I could have connected with this band of trees over here and headed on up toward Mummy Mountain's head. I don't know, but it's a possibility. And then you can see the cliffs and Mummy's chin through the trees here. And some additional routes upward. So yeah, the key is going to be next time I do this, I'm going to take the other side of the canyon and head up and skirt around those cliffs. Looks like there are a few potential ways up. There's an area called the Creepy Corner somewhere on Mummy's Head that is totally exposed, and you are basically walking on the edge of a cliff on a very narrow ledge. I don't think I'll ever do that, but if you're into the Creepy Corner, it's somewhere up in this area. Okay, so looking around here, we have Mummy's tummy, and what we're going to do is circle around here and then angle downward down the into Delta Canyon and across, and work our way over to Raintree, which is in that saddle below Mummy's Toe, which is the cliff on the right, and see if we've got enough energy to summit Fletcher Peak and then head down the North Loop Trail toward its trailhead and then down Deer Creek Road to where we began. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to angle down this ridge and toward Mummy's Toe, and at the base of Mummy's Toe in that saddle there is Raintree. Just to the left, the base of Mummy's Toe, and then Fletcher Peak, I believe, is that high point up there. It may be behind that high point actually, but what we're going to do is connect with the Mummy Springs Trail, and then take that to Raintree. So we descend this ridge, connect with Mummy's Springs Trail after crossing 3 additional ridges, and then take Mummy Springs Trail to Raintree, over to the little split off for Fletcher Peak, up to Fletcher Peak, and back down, then down the North Loop Trail to Deer Creek Road, and then take a left on Deer Creek Road and head down to where we began on Lower Deer Creek Road. So here we go. I aimed too low while traversing the wilderness here and had to reclimb a radical avalanche slope, and then started to traverse below the Mummy Mountain cliffs, which are up there. And I never got to the height of my customary route across the wilderness, but I know where I am. Okay, there is Mummy's Toe, and I've actually emerged onto Cougar Ridge Trail, not too horribly far below Mummy Springs. So I'm gonna go up to the Mummy Springs Trail and then traverse across to Raintree, which there's the saddle, and then shoot for Fletcher Peak, which is somewhere behind. Let's see. It actually might be this hill right here, Fletcher Peak, and then back down the North Loop Trail to its trailhead, and then down Deer Creek Road to where I began. So yeah, this is the first time I've known where I actually am for a couple hours now. Hour and a half. But the way these trails go, I was bound to come out on something familiar. I was just too low. And so now I've got to climb Cougar Ridge Trail back to Mummy Springs Trail, and then head on over to Raintree. Here we go. Below Mummy Springs Trail in that last video. Didn't realize I was so high. And so, wow, here we are. And now it's, there's Mummy Springs Trail behind and before. This is heading toward Mummy Springs. And so now we're going to make a beeline to Raintree, do a little running, and then head on up to Fletcher Peak, which I believe is that mountain right there. We shall see. So there's Mummy's Toe. Actually, there's a better shot. There's Mummy's Toe. And Mummy's Knees are up in that area. Mummy's Springs is just another couple hundred feet ahead. And then the trail continues on the other side of Mummy Springs. And we make a beeline for Raintree and then up to Fletcher Peak. Here we go. And here in quick passing is Mummy Springs. Do a little 360. And you can see straight down the canyon is the Sheep Range, very faintly in the distance. And then Mummy Springs Trail toward Raintree. Okay, let's continue. I just passed Raintree and the Fletcher Peak cutoff, which I am on right now. So next stop will be Fletcher Peak. And there's a good shot of Griffith Peak in the distance. And then, of course, some awesome shots on this trail of Mummy's Toe. And there's a page on Las Vegas Area Trail for Griffith Peak and for Mummy's Toe. Really a beautiful adventure up Mummy's Toe and Griffith Peak too. Nice wide open area. Good place for some video images. And we're looking straight at Fletcher Peak. So I need to head down just a little bit and then it's going to be pretty much straight up to Fletcher Peak. And then panning around, there you have Griffith Peak. There's the south ridge of Kyle Canyon. To Charleston Peak. And here's Mummy's Toe. No zoom necessary. So very beautiful bristlecone pine forests all around in many stages of life and death here. Beautiful in every single stage. Okay, so let's head up to Fletcher Peak and then make a beeline down to the North Loop Trailhead and back down Deer Creek Road, another probably 3 to 4 miles from when I hit the North Loop Trailhead. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we are at the summit of Fletcher Peak. And this day's adventure has turned out much different than I thought it was going to be. I was heading for Mummy's Head, and now I'm on Fletcher Peak. We started, yeah, there's Mummy's Head. I'm not going to make it there today. But we started down below Mummy's Head near the intersection of Deer Creek Road and Lee Canyon Road. Ascended the canyon at the base of Mummy's Head. Actually, I picked the wrong side of the canyon. I should have ascended the other side because yeah, I picked the left side, or the more eastern side of the canyon, where Camp Stimson is located. I should have picked the northern side of the canyon. That would have taken me more up to Mummy's Head. As it was, I ended up ascending that canyon, and let's see if we can even get a view of where we've been. Pretty beautiful up here. This is one of my favorite peaks, just because of the bristlecone pine trees, the rocks, combination of beautiful things. So anyway, yeah, if you can see Mummy's Head over there, and you look at a canyon that would have gone in front of Mummy's Head there, and we ascended this side of that canyon, and then you can see a ridge, and the ridge is actually that ridge there, tree covered ridge just before the cliffs behind it. That's Mummy's chin behind it. So we ascended that ridge up to the base of the cliffs, just the edge of Mummy's tummy cliff. And there's Mummy's tummy. Then we skirted through the wilderness. We headed over in this direction, and we're heading for Mummy Springs Trail. However, I descended too soon, and I headed down the front side of that ridge, this side of that ridge, too far, and down a very steep avalanche slope. Realized my mistake, and then had to back climb up that avalanche slope. That took a lot of energy, and probably another half hour to 45 minutes making that little detour. So I got some more height and then headed across, hit Mummy Springs Trail. Actually, I hit the Cougar Ridge Trail just below the intersection with Mummy Springs Trail, took Mummy Springs Trail to Raintree, and then hit the North Loop Trail from Raintree, took the Fletcher Peak cutoff, and here I am at the summit of Fletcher Peak. So I don't know, this could be a 20-mile day by the time we're done. Here you see Mummy's toe, the main section of Mummy, the tummy, and then the chin, and then the head. Now, Mummy really doesn't look like a mummy from this direction. If you look at the 4-peak circuit page on Las Vegas Area Trails, I got a shot of Mummy Mountain from the other side of Kyle Canyon as I was heading up toward Mount Charleston over there. And it was at dawn. I had started out at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's in the slideshow on that page. Turned around and took a shot of Mummy. And believe me, you can see the mummy in that shot more beautifully than any other picture I've ever taken. So anyway, yeah, here we are on Fletcher Peak. And I think what I'm going to do, I keep changing my plan throughout the day here. I think what I'm going to do to conserve this altitude is I'm going to go back to Raintree and then over back to Mummy Springs Trail and then head down Cougar Ridge Trail because that is more straight downhill. And then I'm going to, yeah, I think I can actually see that parking area where I began. Let's take a look and see if we can actually view that parking area. Yes, there's Deer Creek Road. You see the curve, looks like a smile sideways. And you see a large open area that's actually graveled just to the left of that curve on Deer Creek Road. And I believe that is actually and right in the center there, I believe that's actually the parking area where the beast is parked. In fact, I think I can see the beast if I look really carefully. Oh boy. So actually that's where we're headed. So yeah, and here's you know how far it really is, no zoom. So yeah, another 10 miles, who knows. So let's go ahead and head back down. Should be fun. At least it's downhill all the way. As long as we're up here on Fletcher Peak, a few more landmarks. There is Harris Mountain. And you can see the saddle and then on up to Griffith Peak. And you can see that whole adventure on the Griffith Circuit page, or Griffith Harris. I've done it in both directions. And then looking down, there's Charleston Village down in Kyle Canyon. And there, beginning with Griffith Peak, is the upper ridge of Kyle Canyon on over to Charleston Peak. We'll get a better view just a second. Okay, a few more things to look at. Down in this direction, in the distance, is it's in Red Rock Park. I don't know if that's Turtlehead Peak. I don't think it is. I'm not sure what it is. Could be Mount Wilson. Anyway, if you, wait a minute. Let's go back there. Okay, there we are. Mount Wilson, maybe. And if you move this direction, in the distance, very faint, is Potosi Mountain. And then, of course, Harris Mountain and the Saddle and Griffith Peak. Okay. And beginning with Griffith Peak there, here's a better shot of the south ridge of Kyle Canyon. There we are, all the way over to Charleston Peak, and then around, there's Lee Peak right in the center, and then over to Mummy's Toe. And so there you get a good look at Kyle Canyon from Fletcher Peak. Fletcher Peak is only about 10,300 feet, and so it's not as high as a lot of the other peaks. The Griffith is 11,060. Charleston Peak is 11,919. Mummy Mountain is 11,500. But I've got to say, even though this isn't as high, what a great view. And then we look straight down on Coxcomb Ridge. So lots of viewpoints here. And now that we've seen about everything, it's time to head back down. We got a long ways to go. So we'll see how that goes time-wise. Here we go. Okay, heading down the Fletcher Peak Trail to where it meets up with the North Loop Trail. And you see this sawn-off tree. That is the meeting spot. And so here is the North Loop Trail heading back to the trailhead. And then left heads down to Raintree. And once again, here's the marker, which is this sawn-off log. And actually, it's the second. If you're coming from the trailhead, you'll see another sawn-off log up the trail a bit. So this would be the second sawn-off log. This is where you hit the Fletcher Peak Trail. But coming down from Fletcher Peak, we're going to head back to Raintree, past Mummy Springs, and then we're going to head down the Cougar Ridge Trail. So that should be interesting. Okay, here we go. Okay, we took a left at the junction of Fletcher Peak Trail and North Loop Trail, headed over to Raintree, about 1/8 mile, and then took a right, and we're on Mummy Springs Trail, and we are actually at Mummy Springs again. And just beyond Mummy Springs, I've been running, that's why I'm out of breath. Just beyond Mummy Springs, and there's Mummy Springs right on that ridge there. You can only see a slightly wet rock at this time of year, but that water builds up when it freezes, and it keeps building up successive layers, and there's actually a nice waterfall by late October, early November, before this trail becomes pretty much impassable unless you're into snow navigation, which I am not anymore. Anyway, so now we're heading along the base of Mummy Springs, and the trail seems to break up at this point, so if you don't know what's here, you could actually lose it. But if you just get through the first section, obscure section of trail, then boom, you end up at a nice trail again. And you can continue on this trail and switch back upward to Mummy's Knees and Mummy's Toes, and you can see pages for those on LasVegasAreaTrails.com. But what we're going to do is very soon it's going to break off to the right, and the Cougar Ridge Trail will break off to the right, not very far from this point where we are right now. I'll just keep the video going until we hit the Cougar Ridge Trail so you can see it. It makes a great loop. If you started at the North Loop Trail and you headed up to Raintree, maybe took in Fletcher Peak, and then you headed down Cougar Ridge, that'd be a really cool loop. And if you parked at the North Loop Trailhead, all you would have to do is take a right on Deer Creek Road, and within about a 1/4 mile, you'll be back at the North Loop Trailhead. So, and you'll have done a loop. You won't have passed the same area twice. So, I do have a Cougar Ridge loop adventure on LasVegasAreaTrails.com also. But speaking of Cougar Ridge Trail, here we are. See, it wasn't that very far. And we're just going to head down Cougar Ridge Trail and eventually come out at Deer Creek Road. Then we'll take a left and head another, I don't know, 3-4 miles down Deer Creek Road to where we parked. And by the way, if you look in the distance there, there's a good shot of Angel Peak. There you are. Okay, so down Cougar Ridge. Never seen a cougar here. Never seen a cougar anywhere. They are very shy, and usually they disappear before you can get close enough to see them. And I've heard them. They sound like a bird chirping, which is very strange. You wouldn't expect that. But yeah, when they're just making their normal sounds and they're not mad at you or attacking something, they'll just make a little bird chirp sound. I've heard those before, but I've never seen a cougar in all my time. Okay, let's head down Cougar Ridge Trail to Deer Creek Road. Here we go. Well, let's get a little section of mid to lower Cougar Ridge Trail. We've been down the initial very steep decline, some near avalanche slope incline, and now we have emerged into a more forested area. Eventually this is going to come out on a road system that will then go through a residential area and lead to Deer Creek Road, where we'll take a left. But this is a pleasant little section of forest. We're below the bristlecone pine area, so I imagine we're looking at, maybe 6,000, 7,000 feet at this point. Probably closer to 7,000. Maybe 7,500. But anyway, yeah, continuing along this nice little trail. If you're on the Cougar Ridge Trail, you just have to look very carefully, because it tends to appear and disappear and take a lot of winding turns, and you could easily get off course. But even if you get off course, just look, somebody's lined this section with rocks. Even if you get off course, you can just keep going downhill, and you'll eventually get to the base of the canyon, to the left of Cougar Ridge. And or you could just stay on the ridge as much as possible, and eventually you'll hit Deer Creek Road either way. So don't panic if you lose the trail. Anyway, this gives you a little section of the mid to lower Cougar Ridge Trail. Here's where the trail breaks out into the road system. And here's the road going up, going down, and there's a little cairn right here. And then there's the trail. So if you're coming up this road system from Deer Creek Road, you're going to look for this little cairn, and you're going to look for the trail breaking off here right before a pretty dramatic curve to the right in the road that leads upward. Now, there are probably other curves to the right as I look at this road, but that's about all I can give you. Anyway, there you have it. The connector, the spot where the road system from Deer Creek, above Deer Creek Road, connects with Cougar Ridge Trail, leads up to Mummy Springs Trail, and then if you take a left, you'll hit Raintree very soon. It's a nice way to go. Much more direct than the North Loop Trail, actually. Okay, let's continue down this road system and see how long it takes us to get to Deer Creek Road. Here we go. Okay, shortly after where we were last, the road breaks off. Here we're approaching a more established unpaved road. So if you were coming up from Deer Creek Road, what you would look for is this cairn, and then you'd look for a left onto a scraggly little unpaved road off of the main unpaved road, just above the residential area. I can see a house in the distance there. And you take this scraggly road around a corner, look for the next cairn and for that trail that leads up to up the Cougar Ridge Trail and then Mummy Springs. So anyway, yeah, that's another connector here. And of course, as you can imagine, oh, there's a cool dwelling. Looks like nobody lives there. Anyway, yeah, if you're coming up from Deer Creek Road, you're going to be on this road, and then you take a left on this scraggly road, and of course there are no markers, so that's why not many people go up Cougar Ridge Trail. But it is a beautiful trail, and it's an amazing shortcut to Mummy Springs if you want to just hit that whole area and go up to Mummy's Toe. Wow, this is the most direct route rather than the North Loop Trail. Okay, let's continue on this larger road down to Deer Creek Road. So that last unpaved road branched off to the left to this unpaved road, and there's a little stream here. Lots of families with kids playing, enjoying their time here. I'm not sure it's a maintained camping area. Looks like at one time it was. But anyway, yeah, continuing on down. So break off from that unpaved road when you see this paved road to the left, and continue on down toward Deer Creek Road. And again, there's the little stream. Sound of kids playing. Pretty different than places we've been earlier today. Okay, onward. Okay, here we are at Deer Creek Road. And this is where you can find this little camping area or picnic area. Picnic tables down this road, and there you can see Mummy's Toe in the distance. But yeah, really nice picnic area with a little stream that has water in it running. It's probably runoff from Mummy Springs, actually, but it is, what is it? The first week in August, getting into the second week now, and that stream is still running. So let's see where you would find this if you were driving down Deer Creek Road. You'd pass the North Loop trailhead. You'd pass the area where Deer Creek Road reaches its highest point. And then you can see there's a parking area ahead on the right of Deer Creek Road. Very nice parking area, restroom, and you can then access this amazing picnic area I've just walked through with the little creek. Lots of kids playing in the creek. Lots of picnic tables, barbecues. I'm hungry after all this wandering, so that didn't help me to be smelling all that awesome barbecued hamburger that was being cooked. But anyway, yeah, now we're at Deer Creek Road, and the big question is, how many miles along this road do I need to go before I actually reach the point where I started? We're going to find out. So here we go. We're going to take a light run the rest of the way, depending on how long it is. Wow, actually, the parking area where I started was just around the corner. So I was thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to run 3 miles. But right around the corner, here we are, up this road into the parking area where we began. So that was quite a loop. Wasn't quite as long as I thought. Maybe it's not 20, but I bet it's at least 15 to 18 miles. Anyway, yeah, what an adventure. We have skirted the whole east side of Mummy Mountain, starting from this point at the base of Mummy's Head. And next time I start from this location, rather than going up the left side of the canyon toward Mummy's Head, I'll head up the right side, and that will put me more directly toward Mummy's Head, as opposed to the eastern cliffs, which I ended up skirting and eventually finding the trails heading up to Fletcher Peak. So there you have it. Let's get a look at the beast. See if it's still here. I always hold my breath. And also concerned that this gate not be closed, trapping us in, the beast and I. Okay, so here we are. And there's the beast. And there's the whole experience, all the way up to the right edge of the Mummy Cliffs, and then took a left and skirted the base of the cliffs through the wilderness, found some trails, eventually connected with the Mummy Springs Trail, and headed on up to to Fletcher Peak. And we're gonna call it a day.